What is going on, everybody? It's KB. Before the episode starts, make sure you go check out StreamerSZN's brand new theme music. That's right. We have full-time, brand new theme music thanks to the newest homie and newest member of the music side of Underground Sports Philadelphia homies. That is Mobley. Stay Volk. His new single is out now. It is linked in the description on YouTube, and you'll be hearing it on audio until we can figure out if we can play it on video on StreamerSZN episodes from here on out. That's our new theme music. Stay Volk. Go download it now wherever you get your music, and go check out the music video on YouTube. But now, let's get into the episode of StreamerSZN.
Philadelphia, baby, you're gonna love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
And look at us. We're on a roll. We're on a roll. Just call us butter. What is going on, everybody? Welcome into another edition of StreamerSZN, the exclusive streaming platform, TV and movie podcast on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. It's KB and Christian coming at you. Another week of the Sympathizer, another week of XMen 97 just being chefskiss.gif. And we'll get into the streaming platform news and notes from around the multiverse. But before we get into all of that, make sure you guys are following us on the socials at StreamerSZN on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Threads. Follow Christian at the Wiz_PHI. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Subscribe to the podcast feed on Apple and Spotify. Leave those 5-star ratings and reviews. It goes a long way for helping us continue to grow. We get the numbers from those two platforms directly, so it does go a long way with helping us, continue to grow, and helps us, reach different audiences and all that good stuff. So keep subscribing on Apple and Spotify, and subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia. That is where you get full video episodes of this show every week, every show on our network, clips, shorts, live streams, original video content. It is all on our YouTube channel. We are ever so close to hitting our next goal, which is 800 subscribers, and obviously 1,000 is the first big milestone. But we are currently, as of this recording, at 779 subscribers. Let's get to 800. We are oh so close, and then obviously we are on that road to 1K, where a lot of things will be going down once we hit 1,000 subscribers. So keep on subscribing, youtube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia, and get your merch at PHI Apparel Company, the best merch partners in the game. That is where you can get your StreamerSZN hoodies and t-shirts. You can get Philadelphia-centric merch. It's all available for you to stand out in the crowd. Go to phiapparel.co. Check out everything they have to offer, including those StreamerSZN shirts and hoodies if you want to support us directly. And when you go to checkout, use code UNDERGROUND for 10% off your merch orders. Like I said, when you buy shirts and hoodies from us, it supports us directly. So phiapparel.co is the place to go to stand out in the crowd, and use code UNDERGROUND for 10% off your order. Christian, the Sympathizer, another week in the books. Before we dive into the episode breakdown, your overall thoughts on the episode and your takeaways from what we mentioned in the last episode, where it hadn't really fully captivated us just yet, and it was kind of a slow peeling back of the curtain. How do you feel after episode 3?
I feel like we're getting ready to kick things off, and in theory, we already did kind of kick things off with quite a few bangs. And I'm not just talking about fireworks, people.
See what you did there.
And especially at that final scene, I feel like that's the real sign that, okay, we're kicking it off for these final 4 episodes, as Director Park hands off the show to the other directors. He's still writing, but this was his final episode directing.
You said final 4, and I was ready to go.
Boom, boom, boom. Hello, my name's Jim Nance, everybody. I'm excited to see where it goes, because while I think we have a clearer picture than before, it's still muddy enough to where it still makes me want to come back the next week.
Yeah, it up until that final scene, like you mentioned, like it still hadn't really drawn me in, and I was still like, man, like we're in episode 3, it's a 7-episode show, like where are things gonna start to, kind of hit a little bit of a nitrous boost and get us to where we're eventually going to go. The last scene I thought was really well done. It still boggled my brain quite a bit, just optically, but I agree with you in some parts, and then it's still at the point where it hasn't fully dragged me in yet.
And I would say that's just because this is a spy show and we're getting the spying, but I think the biggest hindrance to dragging us in is the non-linear and the jumping back and forth of it all. But I also think that's kind of the beauty of this show, and that's why it's keeping us coming back. Because if it were just a straight up linear thing, because clearly all of this, him being interned in the camp in the seemingly present time, it's going to end up coming back around in episode 6 or episode 7, and it'll all make sense. But for now, I trust Director Park. But it should all come back around, and at that point, I'm going to everything is going to make more sense.
So yeah, without any further ado, Christian, the spoiler warning floor is yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Robert Downey Jr., sounding like Clint Eastwood. This is your spoiler warning for this week's The Sympathizer. So please, I guess, if you haven't watched this week's episode, here's a knife in a box, which is a bad cultural gesture. And pause this podcast. Go watch this week's episode to understand that reference at any slightest bit. Come back and press play right about now. Enjoy.
So we start off with the captain and Bond visiting the general to save some time, Waka Waka, to discuss the plot against Major Owen. But the general reiterates he must go forward with the assignment. On the drive home, Bond offers to help in robbing.
Go.
To divert suspicions from the captain. He then reveals that, unbeknownst to the captain and Mon, he was part of the Phoenix program.
Motherfucker. When as soon as he says that, the captain's literally like, "What the fuck?" Like,
if anybody
brother.
at home doesn't know, the Phoenix program was designed and initially coordinated by the U.S. CIA during the Vietnam War, involving the American, Australian, and South Vietnamese militaries.
My favorite part is that as soon as Bond stops becoming a manic depressive, the captain looks like he wants to kill himself because the dude won't stop talking.
The captain and Bond sneak into Juan's house, but are caught by his family. Mistaking them as a visit, they converse with his family and realize that Juan has grown to love America. And at an event hosted by Congressman Ned Godwin, played by Robert Downey Jr., the general makes it clear that he needs to be eliminated.
Can we talk about that grandmother's superhuman hearing?
Yeah, that was like bat senses mixed with Spidey senses mixed with, like, I don't even know what. I guess to call back the top of the episode when you said Final Four nitroglycerin pills. Shout out John Rothstein. During the 4th of July fireworks, the captain sneaks into the apartment under the guise of delivering a durian to Juan. And when he accidentally exposes his gun, he is forced to make him walk towards a corner and prepare to shoot him. Juan fights back, although the captain shoots him in the stomach, and Bond intervenes and brutally beats him until the captain executes him. The captain informs Claude, played by Robert Downey Jr., of the murder, with Claude revealing that Juan mentioned him as the mole, but he dismissed it. And in a flashback, the captain is assigned to Claude to interrogate a resistance soldier, and instead he helps the soldier to die rather than confess. And back to present day, after the funeral, Claude takes the captain to a restaurant to talk. They meet with Godwin, Hammer, played by Robert Downey Jr., and a filmmaker named Nico Demanios, played by Robert Downey Jr.
Okay, so this is the part I wanted to unpack, because as soon as they walked into that steakhouse and he started talking about it being the domain of the white man, I was like, oh no. Don't tell me we're gonna have a 5 Robert Downey Jr. Spider-Man pointing meme here.
Oh yeah, that's pretty much what we had.
Which A, this is when the show jumped the shark.
Yeah.
B, I enjoyed it, but it was immensely stupid.
Nico is working on a film named The Hamlet, which covers the Vietnam War and wants the captain's involvement for authenticity. The script brings back many memories for the captain, who also starts hallucinating Juan's corpse next to him, and by God, was that Harvey Dent.
That's a heck of a way to end an episode.
It was a lot. It was, like we said, the show jumps around a lot from past to present and back, and then the hallucination factor was trippy. It was interesting. That final sequence definitely added some gas to the tank for me. I wouldn't say I have a full gas tank with this show, though. I'm probably about a quarter of a tank, so I can get to work and probably go and run some errands before I got to go back and fill my tank up. But it was interesting, to say the least.
Yeah, like, I'm to continue with your gas tank analogy, because this is great podcasting, of course, at 12:30 in the morning.
Zoom,
beep, beep, meep, meep. I'm at like a 2/3 tank with this, where I'm ready for the show every week at 9. Let's go, giddy up. But I'm also like a car that's stuck in third gear, where I can't get it up to first or second. So I'm sitting in a spot I don't fully want to be sitting in, but it's still very, very drivable.
It's almost like my actual car.
Waka waka. But I don't want to talk about this. What are your thoughts on just how many Robert Downey Jr.'s can we fit in a scene?
I get it, but it also felt kind of premature in a way, and just like very shticky.
I tend to agree with you on the shticky part. I don't agree on the premature part, because
by premature, I think I just mean like, for some of the characters, like, we had a little bit of an introduction to them beforehand, and then others just kind of came out of the clouds, and it's like, okay, who are you?
So I'll give you that with the senator, but I think the point of the filmmaker is
like, that was his introduction.
Yeah.
But it's like the senator sitting there, and it's like, okay, like, cool, you're played by Robert Downey Jr., but like, what are you doing here?
Yeah, and again, we'll have these characters pop up a lot more as this show goes on, so we'll feel less like that. But we're getting a lot of Claude.
Yeah, like,
which I think, to be fair, Claude is the best of the characters by far, and is also the most intriguing by far.
Yeah, And it almost felt like, to a degree, like that final scene was almost like overwhelming with how much Robert Downey Jr. was going on. And not that too much Robert Downey Jr. is a bad thing, but like just the way that scene was, it was just like, okay, I feel kind of like it's too much happening all at once.
Yeah, like the biggest hindrance to this show, I feel, is the spin the wheel Robert Downey Jr., where Claude's the best one by far.
Yes.
But he makes a choice with the Asian Studies professor, which your mileage may vary. He's made a choice to sound like a Clint Eastwood impersonator with the senator, which again, that's a choice. And then you have the Francis Ford Coppola inspired director, which, according to all reports, it's Francis Ford Coppola inspired, which could be something. It could be nothing. It feels like it's closer to Claude than the other two. But one might know because you saw him for probably 5 minutes.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see how the hashtag Downeyverse continues.
Yeah, and like we said on last episode when we started breaking this down, like we're not going to have full on grades for these episodes. It's kind of just going to be encapsulated in the show in and of itself. But I think the gas tank analogy works right now with how this show is flowing.
One thing I do want to touch on before we move on, I think we need to talk more about the captain and how he is the central figure of this show. And now he's doing a really good performance of basically having to deal with playing so many sides and as is central to the show. And there's been great conversations about this topic on podcasts, part of the Ringer Podcast Network. But this is a show that very much about identity. It's a show about are you like being North Vietnamese, South Vietnamese? It's about what defines you. Is it your political leanings? Is it your parents being born in Vietnam, so you view yourself as Vietnamese, or in the case of Sandra Oh, viewing herself as American, despite what the Robert Downey Jr. professor character wants her to be. Because she was born and raised in America.
Right.
So this is a show that's definitely saying something, but it's much more subtle with it than other shows.
Like whispering.
Yes.
So yeah, we'll see how this continues. This is like, now that episode 3 is done, I'd say the previously on portion of next week's episode will be the halfway point, and then we'll be into the next half of this show with episode 4 next week, and we'll see how it keeps on chugging along. But let us know in the YouTube comment section or in the podcast reviews how you're feeling about the Sympathizer, if you're watching it, and if you're on the same page as Christian and I, or if you're absolutely loving this show, or you kind of have tuned out and it hasn't been for you. Let us know in the YouTube comment section, to which we move on to another universe. Hit that music. It's XMen 97, and it is brought to you by our pals over at Tomahawk Shades, the best small batch eyewear in the game. From sunglasses to blue light glasses and prescription lenses, they've got you covered for an affordable eyewear product for a fraction of those big eyewear companies. There's no need for you guys to be going out and spending $3, $4, $5, or even more $100 on a pair of sunglasses or blue light glasses when Tomahawk Shades can give you better quality for a fraction of those prices. Tomahawk Shades has been rocking with us for years now. We're working on some stuff with them, hopefully in the near future. And they just released their new Brixton class, which is selling out fast. So if you go to tomahawkshades.com or download the Tomahawk Shades app in the App Store or Google Play Store, fill up your cart with everything you need. You can also get a pair of Brixton class glasses for 50% off when you use code BRIX at checkout. That's code BRIX for 50% off your first purchase with a Brixton class pair of sunglasses in your cart. And at any time, you can use code USP for 25% off your order at tomahawkshades.com or in the Tomahawk Shades app. That's code USP for 25% off your order at tomahawkshades.com or in the Tomahawk Shades app to save 25% off your next sunglass or blue light glasses purchase. I'm sure Cyclops would enjoy some Tomahawk Shades, Christian.
That's a branding opportunity for Tomahawk Shades there. Like, make a really nice dark red lens.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine all the cosplayers you could get.
Especially New York Comic Con. They're on Long Island. Like, it's right there. We might have to talk to them. Speaking of Cyclops, this episode titled Bright Eyes, brought to you by Emmett Yonemura and Charlie Feldman and JB Ballard. I know I said last week that episode 5 was my favorite of the season. It was like S tier for me. This episode joins the S tier. I fucking love this episode. It was jam-packed. There was so much tie-in to Marvel characters and places and things and name drops and Hachi Machi, hello, Captain America.
Hello there.
It was quite an episode. Christian, what were your overall thoughts from episode 7 of X-Men 97 season 1?
So after the hot start, I've obviously cooled down on the show if you've been listening to the pod. And I kind of still sit in a similar spot where I need to see where things are going here. Because and now I know where things will end up going.
Mm-hmm.
But now we have 2 episodes left? 3?
3.
3.
It's like a 3-part finale because all the episodes are titled Tolerance is Extinction.
I just need us to start to tie everything together because we kind of need to fully tie in this Cable thing.
Mm-hmm.
We need to fully tie in all this Mr. Sinister and Bastion stuff.
Yep.
We need to figure out how exactly we're getting Magneto and Gambit back because we know they're coming back.
Yeah.
And we have this Professor X shooter drop. And so there's a lot of things up in the air right now, and I just need some of them to start to hit the ground so I'm not feeling like I'm crazy here.
Yeah, this episode, I think, opened the door to what we're going to see in the final 3 episodes. You know, you see where Magneto is, which we'll get to. You get the tie into that kind of weird side quest up in space with Charles Xavier at the end as well. And there was a lot to unpack from this one. And it all gets started as the X-Men hold a funeral for Gambit, and Rogue angrily searches for Gyrich and Bolivar Trask. And after gaining information from an unlikely source that I did not see coming in X-Men 97 whatsoever, but it was a thrill to see.
You did not see coming before the mid-season trailer.
It's been a while since I've watched it, so it was a nice surprise to see General Thunderbolt Ross. Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross was a nice, pleasant surprise that I did not see coming, and he name dropped the Hulk. That was a fun thing to see with the X-Men, and obviously in the live-action MCU, we're supposed to have Thunderbolts this summer. So that was a fun cameo to see Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross.
I think it's worth pointing out how at this point, what we have going on is we've had Cap show up, we've had Hulk mentioned, and on top of that, there's a little issue of how in the trailer we see the flash of a newspaper going through and mentions Spider-Man mutant. So I'm not sure if this is them just fully committing to the Marvel bit or what exactly is going on here.
Yeah, there's a lot. And you get Thunderbolt Ross and Captain America. Welcome to the fold, Cap. Rogue finds Gyrich in Mexico and absorbs his memories, and Gyrich is killed later that night by a mysterious man who is working with Mr. Sinister. And while assisting in the recovery efforts at Genosha, the X-Men are contacted by Trask, who tells them that he is in Madripoor. More just like
Come
Leo
on
memes.
down.
I was like, let's go, Madripoor, which obviously we got Madripoor name dropped in a number of recent MCU projects, but obviously we saw it in live action way back in 2021 when The Falcon and the Winter Soldier came to Disney Plus, and that is where Sharon Carter, aka quote unquote the Power Broker, was hoarding all of her art and valuables and collectibles. But it was very cool to see Madripoor get dropped again. And this isn't, I feel like moving forward, whether it's in Marvel animation or in the MCU, Madripoor is going to play a pivotal part in what we see in Marvel content in the coming years. I think it's going to be a destination that we see quite a bit. So it was cool to see it in an animated sense, and it looked aesthetically awesome. So we get the Madripoor drop, and then they get Rogue on the way. And Roberto and Jubilee visit Roberto's mother and tell her that he's a mutant. She asks him to keep his identity a secret. And in Madripoor, the X-Men learn that Sinister had a mysterious OZT organization, and they have been developing a highly advanced Sentinel program that is years beyond what they have currently, according to Beast. And we also got one of the funniest drops from Morph saying that discount Oppenheimer. Referring to, obviously, Trask as he was hanging off the edge of a building ready to jump to his death.
Well,
Which then he gets assisted by Rogue, who drops him to his death, unknowingly activating and programming that turns him into a human Sentinel hybrid, which was creepy as all get out.
It's the future, Kyle. We're facing it.
I also couldn't tell if it was Morph or if it was actually Quicksilver that was in that sequence.
I think we saw Morph change now.
I think it was Morph, but I couldn't tell. I was like, oh, that's the first time we've seen Quicksilver in this show, which was cool.
I feel like you're giving me a Mandela effect now. I'm like, did I? Did we?
Mostly because we didn't see Quicksilver before, so it's like, where the fuck did this guy come from? Was he just in Madripoor the whole time? Like,
who this dude?
Who that is? But then we get the arrival of Cable, who defeats Trask and explains that Sinister is working with a greater threat that they must stop, and he's got that advanced tech, obviously coming from what I'm believing to be like 3099. And this threat is Bastion, who reveals to Sinister that Professor Xavier is alive in space and that Magneto, presumed dead in the Genosha attack, is also alive and is Bastion's prisoner. Now, who is Bastion, you may be asking? Bastion is a supervillain appearing in Marvel Comics, obviously. His first full appearance was in the Uncanny X-Men back in June of 1996, lining up, obviously, with the X-Men 97 moniker. But Bastion is a mysterious man named Sebastian Gilberti who had risen to power in a relatively short time in the U.S. government and began assembling the International Anti-Mutant Strike Force Operation Zero Tolerance, aka OZT. When the X-Men learned about the existence of OZT some months before the operation became public, Gambit and Phoenix, acting on information, snuck into an OZT meeting being held at the Pentagon to learn more about the program and its leader, Bastion, but did not come out with much. Bastion showed that he was more than met the eye. I guess he's a transformer, as Phoenix could not read his mind. And Bastion easily identified the two as X-Men hidden among representatives of various foreign intelligence agencies interested in supporting OZT. Professor X voluntarily turned himself in after the Onslaught event, and Bastion confined him in an OZT facility along with the artificially created mutant manatees, which was later revealed allowed Bastion to take direct control over the Xavier Institute of Higher Learning. Also allowed Bastion to gain possession of the Xavier protocols, a list of files containing information on killing X-Men. Bastion also killed a Daily Bugle reporter named Nick Banduveris, however you say it, who was going to report on Graydon Creed's history, and later Bastion himself succeeded in capturing Jubilee and taking her to the OZT base in New Mexico. He's also been captured by S.H.I.E.L.D. in the comics with help from Iceman. He's a big time villain in the X-Men universe. We'll link his wiki page in the description, so if you want to read up on Bastion, but he's a bad motherfucker, and there's a reason that they kept on playing One-Eyed, One-Horned, Flying Purple People Eater with his ass. His species is technically classified as an android. He's a mystical fusion of Master Mold and Nimrod.
So Kyle, you're telling me he's not an apple?
Not an apple. More than meets the eye, as we said. But he's a badass motherfucker in the X-Men universe, and it was cool to see that he's kind of the one pulling the strings, not Mr. Sinister, really. And you want to know how the U.S. got all that stuff? Well, he's been able to probably go forward in time and learn a whole bunch of stuff. Plus, if you remember way back at the beginning of this season, they got a whole bunch of DNA from Cable when he was just a wee little lad. So I'm sure that had something to do with it as well. This episode was wild. I think it was a perfect setup episode to this, what everyone is assuming to be a 3-part finale. Tolerance's extinction. And I mean, we got motherfucking Captain America, a Hulk reference, Thunderbolt Ross, Madripoor, and a human turning into a Sentinel. It was quite wild, quite fun. What do you take away from everything that we saw, and how do you think it sets up this alleged 3-part finale?
I think it sets us up for 3 episodes of chaos. I very much think that. At the same time, I do tend to think that I'm happy with where this show is right now. It's doing good, though it needs to kick back into gear for someone who's not the biggest comic book guy like me. I just needed to move up a gear and get back into more of what we got in prior episodes in terms of a clear through line and the set pieces.
Yeah. It's been very fun. I'm intrigued to see how they, attempt to put a bow on this first season of X-Men 97 being back. I know we're confirmed for 2 more seasons at the very least. So, overall, Christian, what does episode ranking come in for you on this one?
On the superhero scale, this episode sits at, let's say, an 8.6, where it's not the highest, but it's not the lowest. It sits firmly around the middle for me.
Yeah, I think I'm giving it an 8.9. I liked a lot of how this episode flowed and moved, and the cameos were fantastic. The Bastion reveal was great. Magneto is alive, and I'm super intrigued to see how Rogue continues to develop what feels like her anti-hero arc, because she is on one with her sweet baby boy being dead, and just gives no fucks, and it's very fun to watch. But yeah, this has been super fun, and 8.9 plus an 8.6 puts it at an 8.75, which rounds up to an 8.8 in our book, which is pretty goddamn good if I do say so myself. So there is X-Men 97, episode 7, and we'll be gearing up for a 3-part finale. Existence is futile. That's not the title, but that's what I'm saying, and that's what's going to bring us to everybody's favorite segment. It is the streaming platform Multiverse News and Notes, brought to you by our pals over at Kenwood Beer, the official beer partner of Underground Sports Philadelphia. It's a refreshing light beer, just 4.1% ABV, only 120 calories, and just 8 grams of carbs. You guys can go to kenwoodbeer.com and use the Kenny Finder to see who's got Kenwood beer on tap in the Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Maryland, and New Jersey areas. You can also get it at your local liquor stores in those markets. Also, check out the Kenwood Beer storefront at kenwoodbeer.com to check out all the awesome pint glasses, the great apparel, and everything else that Kenwood Beer has to offer you. It's kenwoodbeer.com. Must be 21 or older to do so. And, of course, please drink responsibly. Christian, the Multiverse News and Notes brings us the good, the bad, the ugly from across the board. But I did see a very hilarious tweet before we started recording from the one and only Jeff D. Lowe of Barstool Sports, and obviously the rest in peace Lights Camera Pod, Lights Camera Barstool, no longer doing podcasts, but it's their movie brand. He put out a tweet that was just so great. One Perfect Scene posted a picture of Jeremy Allen White, and Jeff D. Lowe quote tweeted and said, "Not to be a Hollywood gossiper, but I sat behind him on a plane the other day, and he watched Arrival. Great choice and a big cinema moment."
My king watching Arrival. Bless up.
So I felt I had to share that one there. Looking right here, Ethan Hawke says that his daughter Maya Hawke won't tell him Stranger Things 5 spoilers. Quote, she says, "You've got a big mouth."
Fair.
Valid.
Fair.
I want to get your take on this because I do want to see this movie. It looks very entertaining and very fun and right up my alley. Allegedly, I use the word bombs as like, meh. Boy Kills World bombs at the box office.
Okay.
Lay it on the people.
I saw Boy Kills World. It's a messy film.
Which you can kind of tell from the trailer.
Yes, I can see people enjoying it. It didn't do much for me, and it kind of got in its own way at points. But I'm not going to stand against someone saying, "Hey, I had a great time at Boy Kills World." Like, go ahead, mate. Watch it, have a fun time, support the box office. It's better than seeing Fast X Part 2.
Yeah, made 1.6 million domestically, and producers say it was the biggest budgeted film to ever come out of South Africa. Not only is it the biggest budgeted film from a South African production company by some margin, but also we've doubled down on the P&A.
Cheers.
Speaking of box office, Dune 2 crosses 700 million at the worldwide box office. This kind of intrigues me, and I feel like it would be very fun if they do it correctly. And I know you're not in this realm, but I feel like you can kind of see the vision here. A new Game of Thrones video game is reportedly in development at Nexon. It's an MMORPG set in the North, and story campaign is online. If they approach that correctly, that could be a really, really good video game.
Don't we say that could be really good about so many things about so many things these days though? So
Very true. Challengers grosses $25 million at the worldwide box office.
I
And the
saw
film's budget
Challengers.
is about $55 million.
I saw Challengers. I would encourage people to see Challengers. The score cooks in that movie.
This one's gonna make you sigh, yet it makes sense. Speaking of more box office, Kung Fu Panda 4 crosses $500 million at the worldwide box office. The film's budget was $85 million.
Little kids love them.
The kids rule the world. Godzilla X Kong, is that what it officially
Just say
is?
Godzilla Kong. Like
Kong.
it's like how there's a very popular Japanese anime style that's Hunter X.
Yeah.
Hunter, but everyone says Hunter x Hunter.
Okay. Godzilla Kong crosses $500 million at the worldwide box office, and the film's budget was $135 million. I can't believe this is true, but Avengers Infinity War released 6 years ago this week. That's gross. Being delayed once again, Kraven the Hunter will now release December 13th, 2024, to which I saw Robbie Fox say, could it be worse than Madam Web?
It really just needs to be delayed out of existence. Like it's nothing's gonna happen. Like nothing good can come out of releasing this film. I am sorry.
This is just interesting from a creator aspect, and I know there's a whole following on the app for it. ByteDance reportedly would rather shut down TikTok than sell it if their legal options fail. Quote, the app is losing money and they don't want to sell their core algorithm.
Doesn't surprise me.
Turning 66 this week, and he doesn't even look close to it. Giancarlo Esposito.
That man has aged fine.
He's a lovely man.
To circle back to your Stranger Things point, Frank Darabont will reportedly come out of retirement to direct 2 episodes of the upcoming season. For those of you who somehow don't know who Frank Darabont is, you haven't watched The Shawshank Redemption, I guess.
That's exciting. Aaron Sorokin says he's...
Sorkin.
Sorry, it's 1:03 in the morning and my eyes hurt. I need my tomahawk shades. Says he's writing a quasi sequel for The Social Network because he blames Facebook for January 6th. Quote, Facebook has been, among other things, tuning its algorithm to promote the most divisive material possible because that is what will increase engagement. That is what will get you to what they call inside the hallways of Facebook, the infinite scroll. There's supposed to be a constant tension at Facebook between growth and integrity. There isn't. It's just growth.
Sounds about right.
Another quote, if Mark Zuckerberg woke up tomorrow morning and realized there's nothing you can buy for $120 billion that you can't buy for $119 billion, so how about if I make a little bit less money? I will tune up integrity and tune down growth. Yes, you can do that by honestly switching a 1 to a 0 and a 0 to a 1.
Yep, he was talking about this when he appeared on the town, and it was an interesting thing to listen to. As long as he's not directing it, I have a decent modicum of interest, just because the history of Sorkin the writer is better than Sorkin the writer-director. So we'll see where this goes.
This is just creepy as hell. Did you see the video of the practical face hugger used for Alien Romulus?
No, but I'm excited to watch that movie.
That thing is terrifying.
Yep.
Also, this week, released 5 years ago, was Avengers Endgame. One of the best theater going experiences of my life because I had one of the most lit movie theaters ever, and all those reaction videos you always see to everything was very similar to what the movie theater I was in was like, and it was fucking awesome.
We may have to talk about this one on the show May 31st on Disney Plus. Jim Henson, the Jim Henson Idea Man documentary.
Sign me up.
Directed by Ron Howard.
Sign me up. If anybody doesn't know, I'm a fucking huge Muppets guy. And I just got a Muppet Show shirt at Marshall's for $7.50. So you already know what I'm wearing on the pod for that. The extended remastered versions of the Lord of the Rings trilogy will be released in theaters for the first time starting June 8th.
So, an interesting story. Back in 2021, when theaters were coming back, they were dropping all of these movies in IMAX in their extended cuts. I went and saw them. So I'm not sure if I'm going to engage in this round, but I would encourage anyone and everyone, if they get the chance, to go and see it on the biggest screen possible, because it's just #cinema-baby.
This is hilarious, and before I do it, make sure you guys are connecting and following us on LinkedIn, because Underground Sports Philadelphia is on LinkedIn. Scarlett Johansson's secret MCU project will be a Disney Plus series, and it was revealed because a former Marvel executive had it in their LinkedIn bio. It has since been removed.
I'm not going to talk about some things, but can we just let her go off in peace? Like, can we just let Scarlett live her life and not be subject to the MCU failing to, I don't know, do something without her?
So funny that it was in the guy's LinkedIn profile. And it literally says, serve as an executive on the upcoming TV project Untitled Scarlett Johansson series for Disney Plus.
In the movie news, they're attempting to adapt Blood Meridian again, the famous Cormac McCarthy novel, which has been notoriously started and stopped in terms of people trying to adapt it. But this adaptation is being written by John Logan, who people may or may not know. He ended up writing on scripts such as Gladiator, Hugo, Sweeney Todd, and Skyfall.
I have to put the accent on for this one. Stephen Knight says the Peaky Blinders movie is ready to go, Christian. Filming in September, has a bigger budget, and Cillian Murphy is returning by the order of the Peaky Blinders.
No fucking fighting. No fucking fighting. Everyone in the fucking theater, sit the fuck down and watch this movie.
Quote, I think the film is going to be a step up again by the order of the Peaky fucking Blinders.
In other news, we got a trailer for Blink Twice, which is Zoe Kravitz's debut, and it seems like Channing Tatum plays a rich billionaire who has mysterious stuff going on his island. Interesting.
To circle back to the ScarJo thing, that project is unrelated to Black Widow, for what it's worth.
Bullshit.
Sean Levy says you don't need to watch previous Marvel projects to understand Deadpool 3. Quote,
bullshit.
I made this film with a healthy respect and gratitude towards the rabid fan base, but this movie is built for entertainment with no obligation to come prepared with prior research.
I still call bullshit.
Sam Raimi was asked his ideas for Spider-Man 4. quote, we'd have to figure out the journey that Tobey Maguire's character would be going on and what obstacles he had to overcome to achieve that growth. And I hope a villain would be chosen based on a representation of that obstacle. Also, he says he has no plans with Marvel at this time.
Good for you, Sam.
Moving right along here. X-Men 97 creator was asked if Spider-Man will appear in the series. Quote, just have to wait. Christian might be onto something there with that Daily Bugle appearance.
Did they pay J.K. Simmons though?
That's the real question. Donald Glover on the return of Childish Gambino. This is one of the greatest quotes I've ever seen in my life. I never left. I just completed all my side quests.
How old is Donald Glover? Donald Glover is 40. I guess that sounds like a guy who grew up playing video games, so sure.
Yeah, I mean, that makes him 10 years older than me. That checks out. This is crazy, and one of the best quotes from one of our heroes, Christian. This comes from the Hollywood Reporter. A movie that depicts O.J. Simpson as innocent of murder is in development. Owen Wilson was offered $12 million to star as attorney Douglas McCann, but said, quote, if you think I'm going to take the lead role in a movie about how OJ didn't do it, you've got to be kidding me. To which that translates in my mind when he was offered that, he probably just said, wow.
So, is this movie being directed by Mel Brooks? Because are we just going to have a comically... Are we going to have like a baby-sized glove? You know, baby-sized glove. Instead of it being a white Ford Bronco, it's a white Bronco going down the highway. Instead, like a white Bronco horse with OJ's actor riding it.
Or we could get it directed by Mel Gibson and we recreate that picture of Jesus, and it's just OJ's hands bloody and they're having a conversation.
Well, no. See, it would have to be an adaptation of Dante's Inferno there.
True.
OJ's
Inferno.
Yes. True.
OJ's Isotoners.
It could almost be a sequel to Towering Inferno, which he was in the 70s. I don't remember if he died in that movie, but he was in Towering Inferno.
There's a lot to play with there.
Don't say.
I love this from our pals over at Culture Crave. They tweeted the video of the Penguin from the Batman just shooting the guy in front of him and said, on your keyboard, look between... Great use of that video. Let's see. Rob Liefeld says Deadpool and Wolverine has the best MCU action sequences in a film since The Winter Soldier. I believe it.
I'm willing to believe it. That's not necessarily saying that I am going to end up agreeing with it.
Thandaway Newton has been cast in Wednesday season 2.
Okay, cheers.
Let's see here. Ryan Gosling doesn't think The Nice Guys 2 will ever happen. Quote,
no, Ryan, don't speak that into existence, Kyle. Move on.
It's a good quote. It's a good quote.
Fine.
So much of a sequel, I think, is decided by the opening weekend of a movie. Angry Birds just destroyed us. Angry Birds got a sequel.
No, we must hold out hope. We must hold out hope as the cult of the nice guys. Which has quietly become just like one of the great 21st, well, one of the great cult movies of the 2010s. That's an actually legitimately great movie. So,
Let's see here. I don't know if I have anything else.
I don't have anything else.
Yeah, that'll do it for that on that. Make sure you guys are following us on the socials at StreamerSZN, StreamerSZN on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Threads. Follow Christian at the Wiz_PHI. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Subscribe to the podcast feed on Apple and Spotify. Leave those 5-star ratings and reviews. It goes a long way for helping this show just continue to grow, helps more people find the podcast as a whole, and just lets us do more dope stuff with and for you guys. And of course, subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia. We're at 779 subscribers. Let's hope by the next time we record this show, we're at 800 plus. So keep on subscribing, smash that like button, ring the bell icon. Let us know your thoughts on the Sympathizer and XMen 97 in the comments section below. And of course, get your merch at phiapparel.co and use code Underground for 10% off your merch orders. And this has been another edition of StreamerSZN, the exclusive streaming platform, TV and movie podcast on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. For Christian, I'm KB. We're going to go sympathize with some mutants. But until then, we'll catch you guys next time. Peace.